Hey y'all. Okay, here's what I'm about to do. I'm about to go through all of my makeup and my makeup tools and count everything. And I'm going to be comparing the count to the count I took at the beginning of the year of all of these same categories of things. So I started out with the year of less stuff, and that became increasingly impractical or maybe increasingly less important to me as the year went on. I'm not going to reflect in this video on that. I'm going to save that for like an end of year wrap up video or something towards the beginning of January or something. This is just the count. I'm saying that in the intro just to stress that this isn't really a high stakes thing. I'm kind of just doing it out of curiosity and to give you guys a chance to see my makeup up close. Like I had the camera in this position and I was like, I'm just going to do the up close makeup inventory while I have the chance. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Hannah. I love beautiful things. I have a beauty channel. I love makeup, but I try to keep an edited collection. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Starting with brushes. My brushes are really dirty. I haven't washed them in a long time. If there's anyone in the comments who's scandalized by this, then I'm really happy for you that you keep your brushes so clean, but that's not my life. I'm just gonna count them really quickly and get them off the screen. Okay, I counted 52. At the beginning of the year, I had 65, so I have fewer brushes than I started with. You know what? I'm going to declutter this Daniel Sandler water brush. It came in PR. I don't like it. I never use it. So I'm down to 51. This isn't a declutter video, and in fact, I just decluttered my makeup, so I don't anticipate this happening. I don't anticipate what happened with this brush happening with any of my makeup. I haven't decluttered my brushes in a long time. I just did it once early in the year, so it makes sense that there would be one in here that would kind of jump out at me, and it's an easy thing to just make a split-second decision to let go. Okay, the next thing I counted at the beginning of the year were my lipsticks. And I don't know if I need to take all of my lipsticks out to count them. I think I can just go through and count them. I have my lipsticks and lip glosses and lip pencils all mixed together here. They're being stored together rather than separately. So I'm just going to need to go through and count the ones that I know are lipsticks. Oh, you know, you're out of focus down here because everything's different heights. So I'm at least gonna take this down. I was just about to say that the first thing that I put my finger on when I was about to count is the Cosmetics True Gloss. And they call it a gloss, but I just don't consider these to be glosses, these full pigment glossy lip products. If it's a lip color, I feel like it's a lipstick. So I'm actually gonna count those. I just have these two. I'm gonna count them in the category of lipstick. I guess I have three. I'm gonna count them in the category of lipstick. Yeah, I had to count twice just to make sure. I have 49 lipsticks, and I started the year with 31. I had ended 2019 with a really vicious deep collection-wide declutter, and I had really edited my lipstick collection, and a lot of lipsticks came in PR this year, so I understand why it happened. I think I was also embracing my love of lip products more this year. Very interesting though, from 31 to 49, that's a lot. All right, lip liners are next. I had 7 at the beginning of the year. This is another category of things that I really embraced my love of this year. And now I have 12. Lip glosses, kind of the same deal as lipsticks, but I'll be curious to know if my collection grew by as many. I started the year with 12. It looks like I still have 12. Is that right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 12. And lip balms, they aren't all here on screen. I brought these over. I have these two and I have these two. And that's 4. I started the year with 3 and now I have 4. Very interesting tea. Here are my eyeliners. At the beginning of the year, I had 14, and now I have 7. I didn't forget the Rowan quads this time, and I'm counting quads as palettes. At the beginning of the year, I had 14 eyeshadow palettes. And now I have 11. These are all of my single eyeshadows. At the beginning of the year, I had 151 single eyeshadows. It was one of the categories that was really adding a lot to the overall number of my pieces of makeup. Okay, I'm down to 117, down from 151 single shadows at the beginning of the year. These are all of my magnetic palettes. At the beginning of the year, I had 8, and now I have 6. At the beginning of the year, I had 7 primers that I was working on, and now I have these 4. Okay, next on the list is blush and bronzer. I count blush and bronzer in the same category because I pretty much use them interchangeably. This is the area of my collection that I would have guessed grew the most, although now that I've counted my lip products and seen how many more lipsticks I have than I started with, I'm not sure. Okay, so at the beginning of the year, I had 14 products in this category, blushes and bronzers, and I clearly counted powder and cream and liquid products all together at the beginning of the year, all of them as one category. So that's what I'm going to do now. But I also barely had any cream or liquid cheek products at the beginning of the year. That's something that I've gotten into this year. 26. So I went from 14 in this category to 26. But my highlighter collection, on the other hand, has shrunk quite a bit. I had 9 highlighters at the beginning of the year, and now I have 6. And look, I'm holding all of my highlighters in one hand. Foundations. I had 3 foundations at the beginning of the year, and now I have 4. kind of a lot for someone who doesn't really use foundation. It is definitely this way because of my YouTube channel, which is the case for a lot of these categories, but particularly the case, I think, for this category. Concealers. At the beginning of the year, I had 5, and now I technically just have 4, although I'm going to count my green color corrector. I think that when I took inventory at the beginning of the year, I had run out of green color corrector and I hadn't replaced it yet. So that's why it wasn't on the list. So I'm just going to count it as a concealer. I'm going to say that I have 5. So these are the mascaras that are currently in use, and goodness gracious, this category has exploded this year. I started the year with 3 mascaras in play, and now I have 13. I actually haven't started testing this one yet, but I'm going to test it soon. And I discussed this in my recent full collection declutter, but in this category, if I'm testing something, I'm keeping it because you can't donate or give away a mascara once you start testing it. So that's why this part of my collection is so big. This is also 100% because of my YouTube channel. But also, some of these mascaras were in the backups box at the beginning of the year. And it's interesting. This category has grown a lot, but the makeup that was in my backups box, that is a category that has shrunk almost down to nothing. And I'll address that in a moment. Brow products at the beginning of the year, I had 4, and now I have 5. I don't know if I counted my soap as a brow product, the soap that I was using for my brows at the beginning of the year, but I am going to count my soap in this category right now. So I actually have 6. Eye primers. I had 2 at the beginning of the year and I have 2 now. They're not the same 2. I panned the 2 that I was using and I acquired these 2 and started using them. My glitter box at the beginning of the year had 15 pieces in it, and now there are 9. Powders. At the beginning of the year, I had 2, and now I have 3, although technically this one is still in purgatory. I mean, according to the way that I kind of run my PR and what I'm testing, this is something that I'm currently testing, and I haven't decided for sure to keep it yet, but I have been keeping it with my makeup and I've been using it regularly. I've kind of already absorbed it in my collection. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that I have 3 powders. The next category is random tools like, tweezers and my hand mirrors. I was trying to count absolutely everything, all of my beauty stuff into this category at the beginning of the year. So I counted all of those things, my makeup sponges, all the little things like that I have lying around. So before I came over to film this video, I went through and I counted those things again. I started the year with 12, and on this count, I counted 11. Lashes. I started the year with a big box of 31 lashes. And this is what I have now. At some point along the way, I decluttered that box and I just kept a little selection. So there were 31 things in my lash box at the beginning of the year, and in this box there are 12. Let's talk about the backups box. So I have a box in which I keep stuff that has come my way as PR that I don't have capacity yet to start testing for review. I don't buy backups. I'm not someone who buys doubles and triples of my favorite products and stores them so that I don't run out. I don't buy backups of my favorite makeup. I've never been one to do that. So when I say backups box, that's not what I'm talking about. I don't really buy backups and keep backups, but I realized at some point that I couldn't keep every single thing I'm testing all at once on my vanity. I just don't have enough space for that. So in that box of things that I haven't gotten around to testing yet, at the beginning of the year, I had 15 pieces of makeup. And now I have one. I just went to look in the box and there was only this one. There's a bunch of skincare in there, but there's just this one LA Girl Shockwave Neon Eyeliner in black. And I decided just to take it out of my backups box and open it and start using it so that there would be no makeup in the backups box. I really like that for me. Wow, it looks nice. It looks really nice. I'm going to put it in with my eyeliners. Okay, so that's everything. I'm just pulling some friends in here so that the screen won't be blank while I talk through adding up all of the numbers. Again, I'm not going to like fully reflect and tell you all the feelings that I'm having about this in this video. I'll circle back and do that in an upcoming video. But I'm just going to briefly go through the list and talk about which parts of my collection grew and which parts of my collection shrunk. So color cosmetics for the lips and eyes, those are the parts of my collection that I feel like conspicuously grew and genuinely fully grew, in the sense that I was like, I love this kind of product. I'm okay with collecting more of it. I'm not going to try too hard to like push myself not to acquire them if I really love them, especially if they come my way for free, for PR, for a review, and then I just decide to keep them instead of giving them away. That's the main reason that my collection grows like this, that there are so many things. I definitely didn't buy all of these things. All of the new blushes and bronzers that I have this year and all of the new lip products, very, very few of them are here now because I purchased them. Most of them are here because they came in PR and I decided to keep them. So I feel like I really relaxed into loving having a variety of lip products this year and loving having a variety of cheek products. I got really into cream cheeks, and that's why those parts of my collection grew so much. Obviously, the mascaras that I'm testing also grew, but I feel like that's 100% because I'm testing them. If I weren't reviewing mascaras, I wouldn't have opened the new ones until the old ones were done. So those are the parts that conspicuously grew. And the parts that conspicuously shrunk, I feel, were the single eyeshadow collection that went down from 151 to 117. My palettes, I went down from 14 to 11. I guess that's not too dramatic of a cut, but when it comes to palettes, it is kind of note. Brushes went down from 65 to 51, so almost 15 brushes. And also lashes. Lashes are the last part of the collection that really shrunk conspicuously. 31 was what I started with, and I ended up with 12. So there are some categories where I really dropped a lot of dead weight this year. And then in most of the other categories, I either stayed about the same, gained one or two things, or dropped one or two things. And I feel like for all intents and purposes, that means that it stayed roughly the same in the other categories. I'm going to go ahead and add up my new numbers. Okay, I added everything up. So at the beginning of the year, my total for all of these categories was 431. And everything that I just showed you or told you about, all the same categories, everything in all the same categories added up to 373. So still a couple hundred, still a few hundred, right? Still not an inconsequential number of little items, little things, but way less than I started the year with. And I think that it's really interesting. I'll try not to go on and on right now. Again, I'll try to save it for a future video where you can see my face and we can like talk about it. But I think it's interesting that I gained quite a number of lip products this year, clearly, and quite a number of blushes. And so when I look at those parts of my collection, I'm like, I have more makeup than I started with. But across the board, I've really been pretty meticulous about not keeping stuff that I don't really want to keep testing or that I don't love. And so with that principle, because I love all of these blushes and I love all my lip products, And I had access to them because of the PR that I received and because of the things that I tested. I gained stuff in those categories, but because I was applying that principle across the board, overall, my number went down. I'm sure that it's an imperfect count, but according to what I just added up, my collection went down by 58 items, so about 60 items. So that's it. That is my end of year makeup inventory. Again, I'll be circling back to discuss these findings and to share my numbers for clothing and accessories in a coming video. I'm not sure exactly when I'll film it, but it'll be around the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, very early January at the latest. I hope that this was fun to watch. I hope that it was interesting. I kind of just winged it. I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. And I don't know. I don't think that I necessarily would have bet that I would have less stuff. I think I knew that I had gained in some key categories. And so I'm pleased that I didn't end up with more makeup than the makeup that I started the year with. But I wasn't stressed out about it at any point during this video because I decided to let go of that stress several months ago. And that's it. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Again, thanks for being here. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.